Right, so past cycle we spent quite a bit of time on working on the DNS front of things, trying to switch to resolve.conf for everyone and switching DNS mask on the desktop. The resolve.conf change worked quite well, besides a few hiccups that we had to fix, including one still going through SIO. The DNS mask change also went pretty well, I think.
Yep.
Some things could have maybe done slightly different to avoid some multi-points for the same currently, but it's mostly good. So that was the main part of the work. I don't expect that we are going to do much DNS work next cycle because that's been done. We might end up doing some bug fixing, but that's probably going to be it. Also, we've spent some time figuring out the few remaining IPv6 stuff. And IPv6 connectivity on regular wired or wireless connections is really good currently in Ubuntu. The only bug I can think of is, I'm going to copy-paste it, the lack of DNS-SL forwarding to user space in the kernel.
Oh, RDNSS?
No, DNS-SL. RDNSS is forwarded, DNS-SL isn't.
Yeah, alright.
It's an easy patch. I just need someone to actually get it. So, I can do that. That's the only actual bug I've seen currently in wired or wireless IPv6 deployments. We had some small hiccups as well on the temporary privacy address front. Is that SRU in already? Is it?
Yeah, if the SRU isn't actually promoted to updates yet, then it should be like, it's just a matter of asking to get it because it's already done the week.
Right, so we've got privacy extensions done on for all devices in Ubuntu, but also need a small kernel patch that's still maintained at Ubuntu disk for the entire body.
Yep.
But at least we have that so some of the ideas for remaining stuff on IPv6 is I got contacted recently by the guys deploying the IPv6 3G network in Poland, where they basically have a dual stack IPv4, IPv6 network on 3G using two different APNs. That actually highlights quite a few things that we don't currently support in this distro. PVP connections in Network Manager don't support IPv6 at the moment. Modem Manager doesn't support multiple APNs. So these two are things that we would like to see change and fix. But that's mostly for Matthew to take on here.
The what?
The Modem Manager, Network Manager changes for PVP and multiple APNs.
Yeah. There's like very technical small changes that need to be done, like where we ask for what the contexts are and making sure that those can be changed and added.
And actually fixing that specific issue for initially for 3G, it's also going to fix PVPoE and potentially PVTP VPNs in the process. We all use similar config. Oh yes, into the command, also do it on the command line. So.
Okay, so that covers, I guess that covers PPP.
Yes.
Support for VPNs, for IPv6 and VPNs. Do you know if OpenConnect properly supports that?
According to some documentation I read, it's supposed to.
Okay. I can't, I don't have anything to test that.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, what's the question?
If IPv6 is properly supported by OpenConnect. I think it probably is, just not really sure.
I saw a few references within the OpenConnect code, and mailing lists regarding IPv6 support. It's supposed to be there,
I
but
know-
we need to have a server to actually test it against.
Right. PPP, it's also technically supported, although it's not. I mean, the tab isn't showing for any of the VPNs in Network Manager, so
Yes.
that's basically all that needs to be fixed there. What's this thing about supporting tunnel creation?
I don't know. What is that?
Awesome.
Because I really don't think that Network Manager is the right place to create a VPN server. That's what the point is about.
I don't think so. Some of the stuff that comes up often is basically how to be able to create some other types of VPN tunnels to be able to say connect to Tor or connect to L2TP or whatever.
Oh, I guess these are already possible. We just need someone to actually write a plugin for them. Once they do, we can have them in that.
Okay. IPv6 to read to virtual machines. And
This one is a tricky question that I don't actually have an answer for at all. So the trick is we'll probably want to have IPv6 connectivity for VMs at some point. But by default, the machine is just getting one IPv6. So, and not routed a subnet to actually use for the VMs. As far as I know, we don't have support for IPv6 NATing currently in Linux because it's kind of bad and we really shouldn't be using that. But
or should be NATing? Should it be NATing or should we be routing it?
Well, routing is easy to do currently. We can do it. Problem is, it's your standard home router or your conference network or something. It's not going to give you a /64 to route to your VMs, which is the tricky question.
So basically, the issue at this point is at the kernel level.
Not really. I'm not even sure that we know what we want to do at the concept level.
In that case, maybe we should not really spend too much time on that.
Yeah. It was just like a question if someone had any clue how we could actually solve that problem. Because I think at least libvirt providers should probably have a built-in RADVD. So that if by any chance you get subnet routed to your machine for your VMs, you can actually set it somewhere.
Yeah.
Because currently we don't even have that. If we add, it's still not going to solve the problem that in the majority of cases you won't get a subnet to use for your VMs. And asking your hotel network administrator to give you a subnet so that you can actually run VMs is going to be really tricky. So at some point I guess nothing is going to be needed for us.
Okay. Should we skip over to DNS? Okay, let's see. Improving DNS mask usage to reduce conflicts with other resolvers and other DNS mask instances. Yeah.
Right, so yeah.
Needs to be done.
I'm not sure what's the right way of doing it, but making it is another loopback interface is a nice trick.
Yeah. So how I thought of doing this was to really make sure that Network Manager would always start DNS mask on its own, on a very specific separate IP address, 127.0.1.1 for instance. And but it also means there's something that needs to be done at the DNS mask level. Because by default it points to all interfaces. So even if you try to bring it up on 127.0.1.1, it's not going to work.
But you already have the partial path for that, I think.
Yeah, there's patches for both of these things really, so I guess I'll take a work item to go forward on those patches. DNSSEC support.
Yes. Well, currently what we do with DNS masks is that we proxy DNS from the upstream DNS server so that it doesn't behave in any different way than you would without having DNS mask, which works. I guess the question is, do we want as a distro to try and get better DNSSEC support by actually using a resolver that supports doing DNSSEC validation locally?
Is there one that for which it works, which would be easy enough to install by default and configure?
We could use Unbound for that, which is easy to use, lightweight, meant that to be only a resolver, and is, as far as I know, the one driving the DNSSEC resolving implementation.
Okay. There's no support for Unbound in Network Manager right now.
Right. Yeah.
So it would need at least that, and then.
I think it's really an opportunity target. I don't think it's critical for us to do DNSSEC resolution on the client side at the moment. It's definitely nice to have, and I've been using Unbound for years. I think it's really better than much better than what DNS Mask is doing. So as a longer term goal, whenever we actually get working with Network Manager, if someone does that, then it should be considered as an incentive. At least it should be fairly easy to integrate in the sense that Unbound has a control socket and a control API. It's already integrated with ResolveConf. So it should be fairly easy.
Would it support per user caches?
I don't think so. No, because it actually can't do that unless it's somehow into the NSS stack. And there's also something like security raised last ago that we can't actually do caching on the desktop because the caches are shared between different users. And the only way of actually fixing that is by getting somehow the NSS stack and being able to do the user cache. Unless someone finds a way of fixing that, but
we can just bring up the bug upstream and.
Well, sure, but they won't fix it. So yeah, whenever we actually want to get caching on the desktop, we'll probably have to implement the analysis module and not use the host, the usual DNS resolving module for NSS.
Random thought I had about that was that at least with Unix sockets, you can get information about who's on the other end of the socket and separate the cache based on who's being queried. The problem, of course, is that going on libc stub, you're not using the local socket, you're using the TCP socket. And that can be extended to get the SCM privileges or whatever the meta information is that comes on a local socket. But I've heard that OSX keeps the caches separate per user, but I have no idea if that's
actually. I feel like that would be really generic to also be able to tell if I'm making a loop back to the connection where it's coming from.
right. It would be an interesting extension, but it's like, okay, how do I get this feature without having to add more code necessarily to things I don't control? So either getting that added to the loopback socket structure would be interesting, or getting libc to do DNS queries over a local socket or something. And that almost seems more simple, but that seems like there's a way forward because you can, like the information about who is on the other end of that is available, so it should be able to keep caches separated. But it's not a short term.
We can just forward the idea to the anything for implementation.
There you go.
Get us some way of knowing who sent what on the other website.
Still might be able to do it. Maybe not through the socket itself, but the connection's open. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess you could look at the connection table and know what pid is on the other side and who's owning that.
Right, it might be able to get at it anyway.
It's a good point. It's actually very easy to do.
It should be
It
there.
is colorful to do that.
Because you can just
Yeah, you
look
can
at
get here and even know the other side is it'll stuff up in prop.
Yeah.
It's tracing back. It's not.
Is Libc using UDP or TCP?
Yeah.
it's probably using UDP by default with fallback TCP short for DNS.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is, I know it is all there, it's just a matter of can you get it at the right time, very speed.
Can you give me an action item to at least play with that? Because it would be interesting to see if I can actually know who's on the other end of the socket.
It what?
Testing, checking if using proc we can actually know who's the other side of the socket.
And
me.
Okay.
I'm not going to modify the kernel or anything, but just want to check if it's possible looking at the connection table and looking at the PID. Yeah.
Maybe not pleasant.
But no, it's going to be easy to implement. It might be racy.
It will almost certainly be risky.
Yeah, but the race is going to be like if you can use all your PIDs again, then you might have a race.
Yeah.
Which is not impossible, but pretty unlikely.
We run past IPv6 already.
Yes. Do you have anything?
I had one thing to add. I don't want to interrupt from all this. So a couple weeks ago, I got set up with a 64 tunnel at home after reading the book and beating my head against the wall. It turned out to be very easy. I'm trying to figure out the right way to make that available to people in an easy, packageable form for their gateway machines, or if they happen to have a public IP at the time. Because I mean, it only works for a machine that's got a public IP address.
Right.
But if I had been able to go, give me V6 and have it just work, that would be much, much preferable. More preferable, but it does work, and it can work anywhere because we use Anycast. So I'm not sure the right approach to take to this.
What kind of service was it?
It's the 64 service, so that'll work anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
as long as you have a public IP address. I mean, your experience may be really crappy with giant latency, but giant latency for a V6 address that you couldn't reach before is better than not being able to reach.
Yep.
Well,
I
actually,
guess
by
it's
default,
probably
we
easy
by
enough.
default, we're going to Quantal this.
No, so what's interesting about the default GAI conf is that it prefers first V6, then V4, then 64 address.
Oh, okay.
So
Then
if
it was
you're-
not clever.
Yeah, so if you're trying to get to a V6 address that doesn't exist, that you couldn't normally get to, then it will actually go down and get that. So, I don't know, maybe I'm misthinking that, but it seems like there's just a win.
Yeah, there should be an easy way to like provide some kind of configuration for that.
Yeah.
So
The other thing that
Why
might
not?
be interesting to see if we can get added to Network Manager, I don't know if the stream is open to that, is SIT turnout.
So,
SIT turnout for the individual V6 turnout. Because we already have PoE support in it, so some people
Yeah.
will have public IPs on the desktop machine. So if they do, why not let them get some V6 as well? And I mean, on the actual backend side of things, it's really easy to set. So it's really just exporting that in the GUI somehow. But now that they're actually adding bridging, VLAN, whatever stuff plumbed in Network Manager, it shouldn't be too difficult to find a spot
Yep.
for that.
well, sure.
At least
So
mention it to
let's-
Dan, see if maybe he's just going to do it for you.
So let's write those down. So speak to them. And the other one is package 64. But
Well,
I'm not
find some
gonna-
way of
Yeah, I'm
making
not
it
going to
easy.
put any names beside it because we'll see if I can get around to it, I'll do it. Or maybe Stefan wants to do it. But it should be an evening work.
The trick is to know, making it optional just so that you just install is pretty fine.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not.
If we wanted to make it by default, we need to make
No, no.
something more interesting, like trying to figure out if you have a public IP, and then that should the option to send that.
No, it wouldn't be something by default, just like a package that we can put in Debian and forget about. It just gives you magic IP. Keep going.
What if we just had a script that was in a package that would go and you could feed it web interfaces, your public interface, and then it just goes and grabs the public IPv4 address and sends everything.
Yeah, the closest I got to sort of fleshing it out, I believe, was if a package includes an if-up.b snippet, it can compare the incoming interface of whatever you configured as its default IPv6, and it would do all the calculations and saw it on RC address, which for example,
I think that would be the easiest, shipping an IPv6 plugin that checks for, because IPv6 is exporting all of the standards in simple interfaces as environment variables.
yeah.
So you can add a new 624 enable whatever variable and check for that.
Interesting.
So you can actually turn it on.
So I don't have to configure it into a separate file. That's
Yeah, that's all the plugins in IPv6.
And those, all the IFF stuff is getting run by Network Manager.
In
How
theory,
does
Yes,
that work?
yes, the IFF is being run by mine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I thought the final determination was, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would do it.
Yeah.
Then the question is, so what? Well, I guess you could just ship it as the default, and the way to turn it on is whatever the new stands out. This one, yeah. That means that I actually have to test the GAI stuff that I was saying. Right now, I just think that it works out correctly.
Okay. Just in case, I mean, there's 2 other packages that provide you IPv6 stuff in Debian. I can't say for like
Yeah.
how good they are, but
Well, I should.
there's other options too.
Yeah, it's just mind-blowingly straightforward. Oh, wow. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be.
The other thing we would want to make sure of is as dual stack becomes a reality, we really want to step on ourselves by loading up a tunnel when dual stack is available.
NetCFG.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it will make some sense to have DI generate the dog manager configuration file for when running on the alternate, if actually keep the alternate image.
The what?
I heard some rumors that we wanted to actually drop the alternate image, in which case it would be completely pointless to do it. Because we won't have the dog manager on the server. So the only case where it's useful to have DI generated dog manager config file is on alternate. I mean, you can do it anyway, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to generate a network manager configuration file on a server because we don't have network manager.
Why not?
Not
No,
for this session. So yeah, I'm mixing the action. I didn't just generate it because that's easy. It's just INI file.
You're gonna write it down, or
Hmm?
you're gonna write it down?
Yeah. I mean, I already have code for it anyway, so.
Alright. Well,
And that's-
I'm going to write it down. So generate.
And that thing is going to go each slide to grant book you've got in the manager package. You don't put that net config hook.
Yeah.
It's going to go in there because if that's where we currently do the set stuff that configures it anyway.
So a cgrabber generate an app configuration from the installer.
Yep.
So I guess we can keep going unless there's other stuff for NetCFG.
No, that's it. I don't want to do that.
TPM support and 802.1x. Well, it's just a matter of fixing the patch.
Did you get anywhere with fixing, or was it just my fault that the VPN stuff wasn't working with my SSL certificate? I know it was connecting to wireless or wired with my VPN SSL certificate that was failing.
Yeah, because
but I think it was my format.
because your certificate format is weird.
Yeah, and OpenVPN doesn't care, but the rest, but the groups is big and does. Okay, yeah. It was my fault.
Oh, I just want to, since we're talking about VPN stuff, can I get a flag to not dispatch DNS requests based on which, like based on the domain name that's being queried? I can't use DNS mask right now because my VPN only has a subset of the domains that it actually serves.
Or you can just edit the configuration for your.
The OpenVPN plugin doesn't support passing this information currently.
No. I mean,
Well,
if you go in, if you go in,
I don't want to
manager-
fix the OpenVPN plugin.
I'm not saying use.
Okay,
You should.
do you want to fix the OpenVPN plugin?
I might.
Okay, that would work too.
But currently what you can do is, instead of running the OpenVPN plugin in automatic mode, you can run it in automatic on the addresses, and then you can set DNS servers and domains manually. And that will work just fine.
No, that's actually not what I want. What I want is that I want the default connection to, or I don't know, I guess it wouldn't be the default connection. Like whatever I want my VPN DNS server handling all of my DNS queries.
You want your VPN.
But without routing everything to the DNS server.
What?
But without
Yes.
routing everything through the VPN.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nice flag because actually want that as well.
Like that is the behavior if you
Write it
don't
down.
have the DNS mask configuration turned on.
Because I think that's a flag that should be present for any VPN connection. Okay, I'm going to
I'm open to alternate solutions here, but my complaint is that I currently can't use the DNS mask integration because it doesn't work with VPN. Whichever way you would like to fix that would be more than fine.
Oh, you already fixed.
I fixed
the
Cisco,
same thing
and
for
then I-
VNC, right?
And then I changed jobs and I'm no longer using VPNC.
All right. So.
I think that's what is it.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So we basically want a tick box that you can say like, I just want everything through the VPN and the DNS server on the side.
If you want to fix this so that the DNS information can get propagated through OpenVPN, I'd also be fine with that.
But, yeah,
we're gonna do both.
Okay.
I think.
Both options.
Yeah, both would be fine because I'm actually getting everything correctly from my VPN, but when I'm, for example, here, I would really like IPv6 to work for all my domains. Only my DNS server back home can give me IPv6 addresses for Google DNS. So I kind of like having all my DNS fields going through my DNS server back home, even though I don't want to route everything through it.
Okay, so next item. Well, 82.1x, I put myself another work item to fix the patch. The next thing
When it's
was.
fixed, I can actually test that, or you can let the Google
Yeah.
folks do it.
The next thing was NM command line use cases and making sure that NM CLI can create new configurations. That's done.
Oh, Dan did that, or did you?
Yeah.
Offloading to experience, always nice.
I didn't even have to.
Oh, okay, you just did
It
it.
suddenly appeared, and I'm like, ooh, shiny.
Is
So you
it
can now
actually usable? Because that's actually
It's usable to be able to create a new.
yeah.
Wait. Hold on a second. It's usable only on my laptop right now because
Yeah.
I'm preparing the package for it.
No, I was looking if the NMCLI tool was still as ugly as it used to, and it is.
And it's only usable for creating a wireless connection that will use DHCP. So it's just going to do DHCP on IPv4 and IPv6. For the rest, you create you modify the file and you can fix that. So it's just a matter, from there it's just a matter of adding more parameters.
Okay.
Trivial.
I'm guessing that it would be great if Network Manager upstream would aim to have NMCLI support everything else in Network Manager.
Yeah, it's going to get to it eventually.
Because basically telling people just use the dbus API is not really a good way of configuring it.
Well, I think it's actually like, I think one thing that could make that easier is NMCLI probably shouldn't be a C program. The actual GI bindings for Network Manager are at the point that you can do many things.
Yeah, yeah, I know. If you want, you can always fix. You could take back C Network Manager, port it to GI and fix it.
Nope, don't want to do that.
I already started, but I just don't have enough time to do it. The next thing is NM proxy support. So I am going to fix the proxy stuff. It's my
What's
initial
going to be
idea.
broken?
Huh?
What's going to be broken?
Not much, but you don't have proxy per configuration, per connection.
Oh, right.
And you also, in GNOME UI, you don't have a way to set up an authenticated proxy. So one of
Really?
yeah,
That's
one
stupid.
nice way to fix that would be to move the proxy configuration properly into Network Manager, so that the configuration would be saved in the same configuration files as the connections. So you proxy config is per connection, and you get all the settings. I mean, the code for
just one
to
small
apply the
question
proxy
I have,
changes is
So if I, let's say, I'm connected to a wired network, I'm connected to a different wireless network, and I'm connected to yet another VPN. All of them have proxy settings, workspan values. What's it going to do?
in that case, I guess you should use the one from the VPN. But it basically depends on what routes you have.
Yes. And everyone knows
In that
that
case, I'll
proxy
just
settings
tell
in
you-
Linux are so great that you can actually make them go to the destination.
Come on.
No, one
If you're
thing-
doing that, you're just asking for trouble.
You can actually fix it and do it properly, but you would need to have Network Manager generate proxy pack file, which is a JavaScript file that returns the right value depending on destination or domain.
Yeah, that's also possible.
That could be the best way, I think, because it would actually match whatever you have.
Yeah,
But I think for now we
does
can
that.
probably live with just.
I think Conman probably does part of that, so it's
okay.
just a matter of looking at the code, stealing it.
Because that's what I'm doing on my own network and grabbing the GS file from the server HTTPS, but generating it locally would actually make sense, I think. If web browsers and stuff actually accept getting a proxy pack file from a local path instead of HTTP. They should.
Alright. So anyway, for that idea, I'll just first discuss that properly with upstream, and then we'll figure out a way to cleanly implement it. Firewall support. I've been speaking to Jamie about that, and he's also very eager to get firewall support per connection in Network Manager. So one of the ways we could do this is to use the support for firewall D that was implemented last cycle.
And get the API in UFW?
Yeah, either get UFW to understand the firewall D API, or the other way around, basically Network Manager to understand UFW.
Is it already using plugins for that in Network Manager? Is that already a plugin? Is the firewall D stuff a plugin of Network Manager? Or is
No,
it?
it's not a plugin. It's something you configure.
Okay. Because I guess if you
Some
want to
power
make Network
connection.
Manager understand UFW, then that firewall D should be moved to a plugin,
Yeah.
which sounds like what it is for. I'm guessing having UFW just understand the EBS API firewall D must be possibility as well.
And the next thing is choosing a version for ISC DHCP server and ISC DHCP client.
Oh, right, yeah. So for 12.04, we actually say we moved from an old version of 4.1 to the what's the name? Long-term whatever version of of 4.1, which is great for the NTS, but we might reconsider moving to 4.2, I think is the current one. For maybe for 12.10. The only thing that I'm not sure about is when is the next long-term version of ICDHCP, because I want to make sure that 14.04 is going to be on a long-term.
Well, can you see with ISC?
I guess I could, yeah.
I
I can take an action item to figure out exactly what's going to be the next extended support version of ISC, and make sure that we can realistically get on it by 14.04.
Does the actual version of ISC really matter much to any team?
4.2 would give us some nice improvements, I think, on the IPv6 side, digital IPv6. Some added
because I think we basically covered the biggest, like the biggest breaker already, which was moving to Upstart, and probably just moving from like DHCP3 to ISC DHCP. From there, like what actual version of ISC DHCP4 it is, it really doesn't matter to me, at least.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's adding some nice things that we probably want in 4.2 for big deployments at least. It's adding support for DNS with IPv6 and talking to IPv6 DNS servers for DNS.
If you want to work item for that, by all
Well, I mean, I'm
means.
going to have to update ISC anyway, so I can at least take the work item to figure out what version we should be using. And if that's 4.2, then just rebase our version of 4.2. Actually, any of you here who is familiar with the NDAP patch that we are covering? There's a really huge NDAP patch in ISC that I'm not even sure I use it.
Drop it.
Yeah, it just came from my plan because it's really big. It doubles the build time because it's actually rebuilding a completely different binary because of it. And I'm not sure someone is actually using it. Right, so 4.1 is going to be supported until December 2014, which means that they are going to have something else probably for the next 6 years.
Seems safe.
Yeah. So 4.2 should be safe. 4.3 is going to become the next extended support version for IC.
Anything else we need to discuss?
That's it on my side.
I have a question that's been bothering me for quite a while. Maybe it's just a doubt that I have, but what's the proper way for rebooting the network stack?
There isn't. Yeah, the short answer is there isn't. The way that works the best usually is if-down-a, if-up-a. As long as you don't choose network manager.
It doesn't take care of everything.
Well, that's the closest thing you have to
Yeah,
restarting
yeah.
everything. If you do
If you
do ITC in the networking restart, it's not going to restart it. If you do restart networking, it's not going to restart it.
Restarting network manager, I think it takes care of everything.
Yeah, if you use network manager, restarting network manager should do the right thing.
Because by now it completely turns down the interfaces. It resets even the Tempe DDR sysctl, and once it starts back up, it tries to establish a connection.
Okay. And why do we still use ETC INT networking?
Because we still need something to set up the networking on machines that don't have network manager.
It basically brings up. It also creates the loopback interface. No?
Yes, it does. which is the kind of condition when network manager starts before the loopback. And
Well, you
we end
know,
up having
about
DNS mask
that,
bindings to nothing.
we kind of, network manager is able to bring up its own loopback interface.
Right.
And that was, I think it was disabled on purpose at some point.
Yeah, but yeah, when we disabled that and then made the upstart job, we should have made sure it starts after the loopback is created.
And also, what's the reasoning for not being able to use, let's say, pseudo services, networking restart?
That's because sudo services networking restart is going to go look at the upstart job. The upstart job only has a start condition, not a stop condition. So if you do restart, it's going to try and set up your network again without actually tearing it down before.
Does that get better if we actually have an upstartified shutdown sequence?
No.
From
From what I remember Steve checking, if we were to add a stop action that would do if-a, we would basically end up killing all NFS mounts and everything before the tree shut down.
That's,
Yeah.
so do we currently shut down, which is like all the network interfaces still up?
Yes. And the kernel does a decent job at killing everything when the machine goes down anyway, so.
Anything else?
So yeah, IF-A is the right way of resetting stuff. As long as you don't have slash somewhere on the top right.
Because when I'm running bridging, VLAN, and also bonding, if I restart using networking, it doesn't work. I have to unload all the modules, the network card, and then reload them all over again.
That's I tried IF-A was actually tearing down all my VLANs, bonding bridges and stuff.
There's actually different ways of bringing up bridges. There's
Yes.
one that's kind of wrong because at least I've seen one instance
But
where people
there
were
are
creating
five
their
wrong
own
ways
bridges.
of. For bridging, there is one wrong way of bringing a bridge up and one right way of doing it. For bonding, there's 5 wrong ways of setting up bonding and one right way of doing it. And if you use any of the wrong ways, it's not going to work if you do down and up. Because the actual relationship between the interfaces are not going to be clear, and it's not going to do it in the right order. Same thing if you define bonding, you absolutely need to put your network cards before the bond definition. If the bond definition is before the interfaces, doing IF down and IF up is going to end for 2 minutes.
Could we add an action point to maybe change the documentation?
It is. I changed it.
Oh,
I updated the documentation to a purpose that all the examples are actually in the right order.
right.
Okay. I know it doesn't apply to servers, but bridging, VLAN, bonding, that's now all supported in the network manager as well. So if people want to play with it, it's even on precise. In precise, we don't really like.
Did it actually document that anywhere?
It's not
Because it's
really
not in the
documented.
UI. It's not.
It's not in the UI.
Right.
And yeah, it only just landed not very long before the release, so. But if people want to play with it in Quantal, I'll be happy to help.
And what's the plan for having 2 DHCP versions running at the same time? One for IPv4 and one for IPv6?
Oh, it's
That
supported.
fixed, yeah.
Both 5 have done and network manager do that properly. But you need to define. When network manager does it automatically before
No,
it's
no, no, I think he means servers.
Oh, for the server side.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, right. For servers,
you fixed the upstart jobs?
Yeah, I did. So for servers, we moved from having a single sys5 job to having 2 upstart jobs. So you've got one that's ICDHCP server and one that's ICDHCP server 6. The first one reads hcdhcp.dhcpd.conf. The second one looks at hcdhcp.dhcpd6.conf. And you've got the same thing for the relay as well.
Nice. This is going to make some friends of mine very happy.
Yeah, it will be really happy to have it. I tried to get the server didn't do it for 2 sites, and I got both.
guess that's it.
Cool. So we've got 25 minutes break in the next session.
Short and sweet.
Oh, we kind of knew what we wanted to do anyway. And networking is getting boring because it just works. I mean, we've had some fun with IPv6 when it started. Now it actually works.
I mean, if you're getting too bored, I know how to make your life more exciting. That's easy.
Yeah. Just,
All I do is
just switch to
open the-
Bluetooth.
No. All I do is open the network manager on servers blueprint.
I wish we did that.
I'm
I'm
certainly not against it.
Is network manager actually at the point where it can do everything that IPv6 can do?
It doesn't yet. It's getting pretty
getting
close.
close.
It's very.
It doesn't that. It doesn't want it.
Like bridging and VLAN and bonding were added recently.
It does IPv6 perfect.
I know, right?
Sent by snort.
So hold on a
So
second.
then all you need to do
Bridging,
is
bonding, and all of that stuff. It's not parsed in the. Like,
right. So you need to extend the IPv6 plugin.
Yeah. The problem is very much just fixing the IPv6 plugin, and then we'll be able to just.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure yet what we are going to want for the next ITS, but depending what's happening exactly in Red Hat and everything, so improvement of manager, if they add a few missing things, so that's mostly IPv6 turnups that they don't, and maybe a few other things I forgot. It's going to be possible, and the dom manager improved quite a bit to the point where it's actually stable and working quite well. So why not?
Yeah, no, I think I am generally.
But
I'm in favor of it in the sort of medium term. I'm just not really.
Yeah.
Right. So what I would probably do would be to get the command line set up working properly now for next cycle to make it possible to install network manager on the server and for it to work. And then we'll see.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we discussed here on IRC before UDS. That's the thing that no, we won't finish our blueprint for it, but that's
Nobody notices.
our goal is to have an actually working nice command line interface for network manager, because that's usually a requirement before we can consider any switch to it, and to have to make the current IPv6 plugin capable of interpreting all the syntax that we have in its internal interfaces. So that you can just remove IPv6, put the network manager in the same place, and everything works just as well.
Yep. I guess.
Once we have that, we can actually consider doing that by default.
Yeah. That all seems quite simple.
Because sure, on the long term, we would put it because of just one code base and not having to batch stuff into different bases.
And especially not have to deal with just the sort of interactions between IPv6 network manager and our boot up process right now, which is kind of tedious.
Also, network manager has a nice advantage, which is also its biggest problem of being a daemon, which means that we can do, we can better handle timeouts, better handle a lot of interactions and stuff that we currently can't with I've done, or that we can, but then usually with Wix.
Yep.
Because we're currently hooked into ICDHCP client, into VisualFront, into Upstart, into pretty much everything that you can think of, just to try and fake the fact that we are the daemon.
Yeah, essentially.